welcome into the post game of the post game. It is 8:21 Eastern in the evening, Sunday, October 27th. Week 8 of this NFL regular season has come and went, at least from a Baltimore perspective, in a rather disappointing manner. The Ravens fall to the Browns on the road in Cleveland earlier today by a final score of 29-24. They now drop the Ravens due to 5-3. And Pittsburgh plays tomorrow night against the New York Giants on Monday Night Football. The Steelers currently atop the AFC North at 5-2. Cincy lost today, 3-5, and of course Cleveland improved to 2-6. Tonight's live stream is brought to you by my friends at Preston Automotive Group, and you see the title. John Harbaugh revealed sort of the reasoning behind Marcus Williams benching. Okay, so we're going to examine that. Eddie Jackson, his former running mate, who had a really tough night. Wouldn't be surprised if he is the next benching that the Ravens have to make a decision on coming up next week. He spoke with reporters. Not a lot of players did post-game. So really, one of the only good things that Eddie did today was face the music. Unlike Kyle Hamilton and Roquan Smith, who left the locker room immediately after the game, right before reporters were allowed access. So lots to get to today. It was a disappointing, make no mistake about it, this was a disappointing collapse from a defense that, let's be honest, the other phase of this game, Lamar Jackson and Todd Monken's offense, has been carrying the Ravens defense for the better half of, well, really for the first 7 weeks of this season. And today, on a day where that unit, Zach Orr's group, needed to win the Ravens the game, right? It just from the moment this game began, AFC North football, you can throw out everything. You can throw out the rankings. You can throw out the win-loss record. You can throw out statistics. You can throw out MVP talk. It's in-division football, and it's desperation, right? Cleveland is playing with a certain level of urgency, a certain level of desperation. They got a spark moving to Jameis Winston. They moved Ken Dorsey to full-time play calling duty, taking those duties away from Kevin Stefanski. And you just got the sense that this was going to be a tough game. My prediction went to shit. I had 35-20 Ravens. It was anything but. They weren't going to put up points. Lamar was struggling, at least for his MV3 standards. And what we'll get into in just a second here is missed opportunities were the literal exhibit A for why the Ravens beat themselves today in Cleveland. We'll certainly tip our caps to the Browns in certain situations. But make no mistake about it, the Ravens have so many self-inflicted errors to look at and look themselves in the mirror for the next 24 hours before they flush this one, because that was ultimately what led to the ultimate outcome of today's Week 8 contest in Cleveland. So let's get into why. Why? We'll also talk about what John Harbaugh had to say as it pertains to Marcus Williams' status, which remains somewhat of a mystery in terms of the specifics, but at least we know what he's referring to as what led to specifically his benching. Now, as I tweeted out post-game, there is a lot in the meantime of blame to go around after today's loss. 3 third down drops, just back-breaking plays that are really hard to overcome. They were 2 for 10 on third down, the Ravens offense was. Brutal. But 3 of those drops coming in key situations, right? Back-breaking drives that just are back-breaking ends, back-breaking blows to drives. Okay, Rashad Bateman had 2 of them. One, as he said post-game, was lost in the sun. The other was just inexplicable. Same with Nelson Aguilar. Nelly had a touchdown tonight, earlier today in Cleveland, but a key drop. And the offensive side of the football was not the only one guilty of drops. Jameis Winston finished with a clean stat line. He went 27 of 41 for 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. He was sacked twice, and he finished with a quarterback rating of 115.3. In other words, what's been a knock of Jameis's in the past, his recklessness, should have been another knock on him today in his first career start as a Brown, but it wasn't. He could have easily had 3 or 4 interceptions. Just ask Eddie Jackson and Kyle Hamilton about that. Eddie could have had at least 2. I've counted it as 3. I have him up tallied as 3 pretty gimme-like interceptions as an NFL defensive back. Kyle Hamilton, of course, in the game's final moments, could have ended it with a routine play that I would guess that 14 makes 99 times out of 100. It doesn't take away from just a Pro Bowl, all-pro caliber game that Kyle gave this team. His first half statistics were just absurd. His first half statistics were almost like you're willing to give the guy the game ball right then and there. 7 solo tackles, 8 total, 1 sack, 2 quarterback hits, a tackle for loss, 2 PBUs, and a forced fumble, which was recovered by Trenton Simpson. Those were Kyle's first half statistical numbers. Ridiculous. Here's Eddie Jackson on the flip side, who had a really, really rough game. He was the free agency acquisition at safety in the latter half of free agency this past summer. Here he is facing the music post-game in the Ravens losing locker room.
Crazy. Left a lot of opportunities out there. Got to come out and get better. Everybody be on one accord and just make the plays when they come to us. Just keep getting on the jugs, making those plays in practice. We just got to make them. You know, it's, you say this and say that. I feel like we've been on the jugs. We've been doing everything. It's just in a funk right now. Yeah, I feel like it's just not making those plays when they come to us, man. I feel like it's simple as that. We just got to make them. You know, there's no big theory behind it. It's just in a funk right now. We got to get out of because you know a lot of those is big game-changing plays if we make those. So during the week, we kind of figured we knew it was gonna be me and AD out there. So and just got to come down with it, man. Just continue to work on it, see the ball through, man. It's like a funk right now, man. It's just, like I said, there's no big theory behind it. Just got to catch the ball, you know. And it sounds crazy, but just got to come up with them. We just got to keep our foot on the pedal. You know, everyone be on one accord. Got to continue to play. Don't get lax. And like I said, we got to make those plays. Like, there's no excuse for nothing that happened out there. We just got to make those plays when they come to us. You know, them is huge game-changing plays for us. And we got the guys that can do it in the room. We just got to continue to work at it and come up with it when it comes to the game. I mean, it's here and there. You know, we just got to echo the call, everyone, you know, so everybody can be on the same page. That's something we can continue to work on and keep improving. But, you know, we just got to, like I said, man, we had some big opportunities that we missed and left out there that a lot of us wish we can have back. But now we just got to, you know, live with this one, take it on the chin and get ready for, you know, next week. But it's going to suck, you know. Just keep working. I feel like we work hard. We come in every week. We work hard in practice, and we just got to let it translate to the game. And then again, like I said, we just got to make those plays when they come to us. You know, I had a few of them I just left out there that's, you know, got me sick. I know we just got to come out. We just got to make them. You know, that's it. Coach putting us in position to make those plays. And like I said, we got to get out this funk that we in. Man, you know, cover zero, tough spot, but, you know, I got to play it better. Simple as that.
Eddie Jackson facing the music post-game. He was their safety free agency acquisition towards, again, the end of the summer. He's a former 4th-round pick out of Alabama. He is not a starter, but he did start today in Cleveland. He was a first-team All-Pro in 2018, 2-time Pro Bowler in 2018 and 2019, and he's looking like a shell of himself out there. Let's be very clear. This is a guy who spent the majority of his career prior to ball, and what I mean by majority is his entire career prior to this stop in Baltimore and Chicago. He's had his fair share of injuries in recent years. And again, he just looks like a shell of himself. And it's highly concerning for a Ravens secondary that needs veteran leadership, that needs a shot in the arm. And you heard what Eddie had to say there. He's referring to it as a funk. He took responsibility, as Jeff writes here on Twitter, for his role in it, with, again, the 2 to 3 missed interceptions, depending on your count, and the coverage on what ended up becoming the winning touchdown hookup with Jameis Winston and Cedric Tillman. 38 yards, capped a 9-play, 69-yard drive that spanned just a minute and 37 seconds. Okay, the Ravens lost the time of possession battle by 3 minutes or so. They were penalized 7 times, which negated 53 yards. They were 2 for 10 on 3rd down, and they could only run the ball for 124 yards. Now, granted, they only had 21 total carries. Derrick Henry had 11, Lamar had 8, and Justice Hill had 2. But that's not a recipe to win a football game. And when your veteran is referring to this defense in a state of a funk, Kyle Hamilton and Roquan Smith were both gone from the locker room before media was let in. But many members, including Brandon Stevens, would not go as far as to say that communication was an issue today. And we'll go back and watch some of the All-22 highlights, and maybe I'll go back and watch the game in its entirety if I can find some time tomorrow, just because there's a lot happening in-game from a tweeting standpoint, prepping for the post-game. But I'm pretty sure my eyes weren't deceiving me on several plays in the second half where communication looked to be awry. Communication looked to be a significant issue at times, to the point where, and it's not even like organized chaos is a fair way of putting it, because it didn't look organized. And John Harbaugh said as much in the postgame. He referred to a specific play as an unorganized state. And as a result, the 5-game win streak is over. This marked the Ravens' eighth loss when leading inside the final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter since the start of the 2022 season. Jamison Hensley tweeting these. That's the most such losses in the NFL over that span, and that has become all too familiar for this fan base. It's become all too familiar following this team over the last several years. Here were the inactives going into tonight as we start to turn a page here to Marcus Williams and what the state of this defense is entering week 9, which will be the Denver Broncos coming up next weekend at home. Nate Wiggins popped up with a shoulder and an illness. He did not even travel to Cleveland. Marlon Humphrey was down with the knee after being the hero in the first half on Monday night against Tampa Bay. Adisa Isaac, a healthy scratch, as were Nick Samak, and maybe David Ajabo was a healthy scratch. Hopefully somebody will ask more about that to John Harbaugh in tomorrow's day after press conference. And Rasheen Ali, the rookie 5th rounder out of Marshall. These were your inactives. Why do I bring this up? Just as a starting point. The Ravens were already behind before this game began. We know the deficiencies that they have as a pass defense. Going into today, they were the 32nd ranked group in the entire league. That is dead last. And their first ranked rushing defense, by the way, had some holes today. Now, it still held Cleveland to 80 rushing yards, but there were some big runs. And there were some holes right there. And one of the reasons why was because Brent Urban and Michael Pierce, 2 members of the interior part of the defensive line, went down with injuries, would not return. Travis Jones was already banged up with an ankle as it was. And so this was a depleted team playing against a team with a ton of desperation and a sense of urgency. And that's exactly what Jameis Winston and the Cleveland Browns came in with, and they walked away with a W. We're about to talk Marcus Peters in just a second, but before we do, this episode is brought to you by my friends at Preston Automotive Group. And you guys know I've been rolling around in my Ford Bronco white Sport for the last year plus. Drove it down to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, or I should say drove it up to Gettysburg, PA. This weekend, we did a little bit of a hike. We went and checked out Gettysburg College. It was a beautiful fall day. And I love the gas mileage that my Bronco gets, the spaciousness for Tilly, the heated seats because it was a little chilly. Got the fall chill in the air on the way over to the hike. And at Preston, if you guys are in the market for a new or pre-owned vehicle, just know you get $500 as a Bobby Baltimore subscriber that goes towards a new or pre-owned vehicle at Preston. Also, when you buy 4 tires with them, you'll receive 50% off your alignment. You've got over 2,000 vehicles to shop from. Home delivery is available. You'll be joining the Preston team along with Kyle Hamilton, who had a hell of a game aside from that would-be interception. Mark Andrews, myself, and many more throughout Baltimore and beyond. Cars cost less with Preston. You can get started today by visiting PrestonMotor.com or just simply scan the QR code that you see right now in the upper right-hand corner. And as always, the site, super easy to navigate. You have a site operator that's available 24 hours for you. You can easily contact them by filling out this information right here. The available inventory section is a great spot to peruse. You can refine your search by different category by category, price range, vehicle type, year, make, model, location. A huge thank you to Preston for continuing to support what I'm building here inside the channel. And go check them out at PrestonMotor.com if you're interested in learning more today. Let's talk Marcus Williams. Marcus signed what we know is a pretty lucrative contract that's not aging very well back in 2022. It was an uncharacteristic splash in free agency that Eric DeCosta and the Ravens front office made when they gave him a 5-year, $70 million contract in the offseason of 2022. Marcus now owns and is owed the third highest cap hit this season, and it appears, at least for the time being, that the Ravens have decided to bench their safety. Marcus's cap hit, by the way, is over $18.7 million, and he was a healthy scratch today. John Harbaugh was asked about it post-game, and specifically if it was a health decision. Well, Marcus wasn't on the injury report, and John Harbaugh confirmed that. Quote, "It was a personnel decision. We're kind of working through some things here, which I feel very confident Marcus is going to be out there playing great football the rest of the season. It's an internal type situation." Look, some of you after Eddie Jackson's performance are out there thinking that John Harbaugh and company picked the wrong guy to bench. And you know what? You might be right. But guess what? They turned to Ardarius Washington today in place of Marcus, and they might be turning to one of the rookies next week based on what Eddie Jackson put on film. Okay? Bo Braid, Sanusi Kane, hope you guys are ready. Because what we saw today from Eddie Jackson was just as bad, if not worse, than what Marcus has put on tape. And Marcus has had himself a rough season. Some of it has been taken in the overreaction category, I think, from some in the fan base. Some have taken it a little bit too far. And if he's in the vicinity of a play that has a shortcoming or a play that gives up an explosive, it's an immediate, let's point the finger at 32 when that's not always the case. But the reality is there's more potentially happening here than just the on-field play for Marcus Williams. An internal type of situation opens the door for some internal conflict that could potentially be happening behind closed doors that the Ravens are choosing to professionally label in a different manner. And it brings me back to the end of last week when I shared these comments from Marcus that Cordell Woodland transcribed on X. Cordell works for 105.7 The Fan. And Marcus, before the week began, I should say before the weekend began, was asked if his role has changed this year compared to last. And he was quoted for saying, "I don't really know. I just do my job. Whatever they ask of me, I'm going to do it." Well, now we know, thanks to what Eddie Jackson shared in his post-game press conference, that he and Ardarius Washington found out their numbers were getting called earlier in the week. And if that indeed was Wednesday, then Marcus, at the time of these conversations in the media scrum towards the end of the week, had already learned of his fate going into the weekend. Perhaps his body language matched up with that, and perhaps basically saying the bare minimum, "I don't really know, I just do my job," opens up the thought that there's been some disagreement behind closed doors, maybe even some tough conversations. But Harb's referring to it as an internal type of situation while also building up Marcus to say and predict that he's going to be out there playing great football again this season. This is starting to get very, very interesting. And again, it would not surprise me if Eddie Jackson ends up in a very similar situation this time next week to what Marcus Williams dealt with this week. They have a ton of money tied into Marcus Williams. They don't have a ton of money tied in to Eddie Jackson, which is one of the many reasons why I know a lot of you were underwhelmed by the signing from the jump. Justin Simmons was the big sexy name that was out there on the market until he went to Atlanta. But the reality was the entire time, the Ravens weren't willing to spend that kind of coin at the safety position because of their cap situation and probably because of future allocation, knowing that they're going to back up the Brinks truck for Kyle Hamilton. And so now you're in a little bit of a pickle. Where do you go from here from a secondary standpoint? I know where you go from here just as a defense over the next 10 days. I know that. This pass rush desperately needs help. And I think if there's a statistic that says that and a whole lot more, it's this one from Jonas Schaefer. Opposing quarterbacks are getting an average of 3.96 seconds to throw on 3rd and long against the Ravens this season. 3rd and long is considered 7+ yards. And according to True Media, that's the worst mark for any team in the past decade and almost a half second slower than the runner-up at 3.52 seconds. This defensive front needs help, and it needs help now. I get it. They were banged up. I already mentioned why earlier on in the stream, but I don't care. Because banged up or not, this has been an inconsistent, subpar, bona fide average group so far this year, and it's magnifying the issues that are already in existence on the back end of this secondary. Last year, the Ravens were a complete team in all 3 phases, even though it was a down year for their standards from a special teams perspective. They were a complete team, which is why it was so disappointing that they didn't get to the mountaintop. This year's team through 8 weeks is incomplete. And it's far from complete. On a day that the offense was pedestrian-like, there were drops. There were tough 4th down call designs. There were tough play calls on 3rd and short. There were some really tough overthrows that would have went for 6 from Lamar Jackson. On a day that it was a pedestrian-like performance, they needed the other side of the ball to carry them. And as of right now, the Ravens defense is not capable of closing games, much less keeping the Ravens offense in games where they're not at their best. That's not championship football. And quite frankly, through 8 weeks, they look far from championship caliber. Offensively speaking, they've looked like a juggernaut. Even on a day that they were pedestrian-like as a group. When you think about the missed opportunities, when you think about the drops, when you think about some of the calls on 3rd and short, you still think to yourself, they shot themselves in the foot. Those are fixable. What's not fixable is personnel issues. And right now, the Ravens defense is lacking a true identity, is lacking a true toughness. And in this post-Mike Macdonald era that lost an entire staff and a whole lot of players with production as well, the Ravens are trying to figure out who the hell they are defensively. And I don't know if I know the answer to that question through 8 weeks. Brandon Stevens was one of the players that urged everybody, right, that promised that it's not communication. We've just got to execute better. Folks, this Ravens team has 5 interceptions as a team through 8 weeks. Probably could have had double digits after today. And collectively throughout the course of the entire season, that number could be north of 15, dare I say. They have not cashed in. They have not taken opportunities and gifts. Jameis Winston gave Kyle Hamilton a gift today. Jameis Winston tried to give Eddie Jackson a handful of gifts. And apparently the Ravens defense just isn't good at receiving gifts. We all know those types of people around the holidays. And it seems as if this group is unable to do so right now. I want to get your thoughts. The guest lines are open tonight. Over 800 of you joining me. I appreciate you guys for being here. If you're interested in calling in, you can click on the link that I've just dropped into the live chat. Please click on the link that I have pinned as well and go check out my car dealership sponsor, Preston Automotive Group. Would love for you to check them out. Give them a look. Right now, the division still has Pittsburgh at the top before they play the New York Giants tomorrow night, Monday Night Football. Pittsburgh's 5-2. The Ravens dropped to 5-3. Cincy is 3-5 after losing today convincingly to the Philadelphia Eagles. And Cleveland is 2-6. Karita Parks, by the way, who covers the Ravens for Bowie TV, was one of the reporters in the post-game locker room. She tweeted that the Ravens locker room mood is the quietest it's been in a while. No loss is a good loss, but especially against a divisional team that was beatable, they know that. Yeah, they certainly know that. And this is the type of game, this is the type of loss that months down the line, you could look back at and be like, that was the difference between a divisional title and a wild card berth. Or a divisional title, whatever, you name it. Guest lines are open. If you guys would like to call in and share a thought with me on this Sunday evening, please do. And Justin's about to as well right now, just as he did earlier today on the pregame. Got a double whammy from you. You kind of had some concerns coming into this one, if I'm remembering correctly, and unfortunately they came to fruition.
Yeah, man, I don't like to be like, hey, I told you so, but I mean, I just thought with two starting cornerbacks out and no pass rush, I mean, it didn't look good. I didn't think it looked good to me at all, and I don't know. I'm not surprised. I almost called the score, too. I said 27-24. It was what, 9-24? I mean, it was close. It's just, I mean, this is being a Ravens fan. I mean, this is what we expect. Stuff like this happens too often.
Sure, a hell of a lot closer than my prediction, I'll tell you that.
No, I don't know, Bobby. I mean, what do you want to do? Like, I mean, Williams benched when you have two of the starting corners out like that. I don't think that's a smart move. And then, I mean, give the kids a chance. I know you and Sarah asked about who do you want to like, Braid or Kane over Williams or Eddie Jackson. Like, just mix it up. Any mix, try anything. Anything is better than what we have going now. Like, we can't keep doing what we're doing. And then, like, Tucker, like, I love Tuck, but it's like missing that and then going for it on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1, we can't get a yard, and that's going to cost us points. 3, if we pick it up, possibly 7. Like, that stuff looms large in the end, especially coming down the stretch.
They couldn't overcome 3 third down drops, 4 would-be interceptions, 2 for 10 on 3rd down, a Justin Tucker miss, to your point, and all of that with such little pressure applied to Jameis Winston that he in his sleep was able to throw for 300-plus yards as he begins his Cleveland Browns career. And yet here we go again for them. Could this be the spark that Joe Flacco gave him this time last year? Maybe, just maybe. They're a team playing incredibly desperately with a sense of urgency. And the Ravens didn't take care of all the friggin' gifts that Cleveland attempted to give them.
I've been commenting along all the streams, you know, Engraven, Kevin Ostriker, everybody that's been on, I've been talking about it. Look, I understand you want to get cute. You want to do those dumb jet sweeps, throw it behind the line, which I don't agree with. I hate them. I think we should take them out of the playbook. You want to do that against the NFC or whoever, that's fine. This is the AFC North. You cannot get cute. You can't do these dumbass sideways plays. Like, we have to hand the ball to Derrick Henry, pound the rock, and play defense. That's AFC North. This doesn't change. It's not a secret how to win here. We're all this. Let's get cute, Todd Monken. This isn't college. This isn't the NFC. What are we doing here? Somebody has to say something. Somebody in the locker room, somebody somewhere has to say, listen, guys, we can't do this. Not against the AFC North. We cannot do this.
I appreciate the call, brother. A lot of great points. I'll talk to you soon, all right?
Thanks, Bobby.
Justin Holt. Guest lines are open right now. Apparently I'm frozen. I hope my audio is fine, but apparently I'm frozen. I don't know why. Maybe there's too many people in the guest room right now. But hey, we're going to continue to roll and bring people in and out. An insane game in Washington, by the way. Are you kidding me, Jaden Daniels? With a Hail Mary for the ages. The Commanders are 6-2 and playing some damn good football. Maybe they stole one today from the Chicago Bears, but that is as unreal of a finish as you will ever see down there in Landover, Maryland. Julian and then Manuel, the guest lines are open. If you want to call in, please do so. And let's chat about the Ravens dropping to 5-3 and collapsing in Cleveland, shall we? Talk to me.
Hey, Bobby. What's going on, man?
How you doing, brother?
Well, I tried to get to you earlier. I know I was out, you had to go that time, but I was going to say, I guess you was going to predict the score. Well, I was actually having us losing this game because I said it leading up that this was a trap game, and I got, hate for it, and people's like, oh, stop saying that. What are you saying? This is not a trap. Blah, blah. I was like, I trust my gut on certain things like this, and it turns out that I was right. Um, People fail to realize that in this game, at least to give a little bit of credit to Cleveland's defense, they played well on their side of the ball. Against
Jim
our
Schwartz
offense.
had a plan. They got
Yeah,
some athletes in the middle part of that defense. Myles Garrett,
yeah,
while he wasn't a game wrecker as he typically is, he
right.
did finish with, let's see, 8 pressures on 33 pass rushes. Okay, that was
Mm-hmm.
tied for his most in a game this season. And he had
Right.
6 of those pressures across 26 matchups when he was
Mm-hmm.
lined up over Ronnie Stanley. And Ronnie gave up his first sack of the season. So the
Yeah.
defensive front came to play. And
Mm-hmm.
most people are going to be willing to give up, not willing, but most people are going to be subjected to that kind of dominance from Miles.
Yeah, yeah. And the DBs, I noticed they were really aggressive with our wide receivers as well. They was, you know, dictating what they were doing. They was jumping routes. They were like being aggressive. They weren't allowing the Ravens receivers to like get any like breathing room, so to speak. It was one play, I believe it was against, I think it was against Likely, and the Browns linebacker. I think he was out of position, and Lamar was scrolling to the right, and then he came back across the field and threw it, and then the guy just jumped all over Isaiah Likely. I was just like, oh, that was been happening all game. So, um, defensively for us, it's just been. I don't even have any words for it. I mean, we've explained every single thing. It's week 8. It's about to be week 9. It's about
This is who they are. This is who they are.
you
It's
don't
week
have
8.
any
This
words
is this
for
is
it.
unfortunately who they are.
You
You
don't have
know,
any words for it. The only thing left to say is, hey, Eric DeCosta has got to trade for a pass rusher.
yeah,
I
he
don't
does.
think this is a fix that you can fix overnight at this point, because we would have been said that way back in week 1. Like, oh,
Sure,
okay, this is working out the kinks or something.
sure.
But no,
Hey,
can't fix
you
it.
know what? Hey, you're about to take over the show again. You and Manuel. I want you two to talk amongst yourselves about the game. Manuel, give your biggest takeaway. Talk for 30 seconds. I'm going to come right back in and out. I got to unfreeze myself. I'll be right back. All right. Here come the co-host, baby. You guys know the drill. I'll be right back.
So we're back at it again, part 2.
Yeah.
So like I was saying, man, I don't know what easy fix you can put on this defense
There
at
is
this
none.
point.
There actually is none.
Yeah.
Like easy fix, it's not. I saw Roquan doing his own stuff. It's like
Mm-hmm.
Sakor, okay, make this play, and it's
Yeah.
like Roquan communicated, and then Roquan went to his own, do his own thing,
Yeah. And,
and
you know.
because that touchdown to Ninjoku,
Yeah.
it's like that the secondary doesn't know what to do, and Roquan is like sitting there as like,
He
no,
was in position.
I just gave the play. It's like I'm not helping you. You guys deal with it. It's like that
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
show leadership.
Yeah.
That for
I
me is
was
like,
watching. I was watching that play, and it was like Rokon was sitting there, and then it was like the other guys were just patting, like, "All right, go over there, go over there, go over there," and they were just
yeah.
scrambling, like looking at each other, pointing. And I'm like,
I
"Are you
mean,
serious right now?"
if you remember Ray Lewis, it didn't matter which defensive coordinator was. If there was issues, Ray was like, you go there, I do this." Always. It was
Always.
never it was never like I gave orders and that's it. I don't see that from Roquan, and from the course of this season, I haven't seen that from Roquan. Last year I
Mm-mm.
saw it, not this year. I don't know why. I
Well,
think Williams has either disagreements on the play calling or
mm-hmm.
something because it's not clicking. I think that's why they bench him for this one. But it's like Eddie Jackson is not your replacement, and you got
No.
hungry rookies, Kano and Bo,
Yeah.
ready to just get loose. Show their talent, show why they were chosen as the undrafted ones.
Hey, think about this. They willingly benched Marcus Williams today,
Yeah.
Yeah,
knowing that Marlon and Nate were not going to be available.
Mm-hmm.
Right
mhm.
now, okay, maybe they made the decision on Marcus Wednesday, and they felt like, okay, you know what, we think Wiggins is going to be ready to go because he was upgraded, I think, to limited on Thursday. Now
Yeah,
Right.
Marlon didn't practice all week, right? So like
Mm-hmm.
maybe they got screwed in the end because Wiggins was downgraded, and they were like, we can't even have him travel. But they
Right.
made this decision according to Eddie Jackson at some point midweek, and that typically install days typically happen on Wednesdays. So I
yeah,
wouldn't be surprised if that communication was sent out on, say, Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, somewhere around there. And so, point is, they made that decision knowing that they were going to be shorthanded, which means they really can't be in a good state of mind right now with Marcus Williams. This is the third highest cap hit on this team, as I mentioned earlier on in the stream, and somebody who is bare bones, not dead last, but bottom corridor in the league in terms of rankings. Somebody who is no longer consistently giving you splash plays, which is why they brought him in a couple years ago and they backed up the Brinks truck, which is an uncharacteristic move. And then you have the comments that he gave reporters at the end of last week
Mm-hmm.
that were somewhat cryptic about what his role is right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I would not be surprised if we start to hear more information trickling out on what it is that's happening, an internal situation for that label to come out today in John Harbaugh's post-game press conference. We have
Mm-hmm.
most certainly not heard the last of this situation.
Hey, Bobby, let
no.
me ask you this. I've been thinking about that. Do
Hey,
you
wait, I
believe?
got to give you your flowers. Thank you for helping me co-host here.
Hey,
Okay, giving Sarah a run for her money. I appreciate you guys for being here. We've got over 1,000 of you concurrently watching tonight. Thank you guys for being here. And go ahead, Jewel.
Oh, by the way, I never want to take Sarah's job. Just tell her I do not want to do that because she will like jump on me. No, I'm just kidding. But I was thinking about what you said about that Marcus Williams situation. Now, if this happens again, do you think? And I'm maybe going out on a limb here because I've seen this type of situation before when they lost. Remember back in 2020 when they lost to the Redskins at the time, and then there was a reports of a mutiny
Hey,
going on,
hey,
and
oh yeah,
one more interruption from me. You're about to get double whammied. The freaking reboot is about to happen. Okay,
oh,
I'm getting
goodness.
double whammied tonight. My shit's freezing. My shit's freezing, and the reboot's about to happen. So you
My
continue to tell that
goodness.
story. You two, I'm going to invoice you. You'll invoice me after
Yeah,
this is
all
over.
right.
All right, but keep telling the story because we all remember the mutiny. But I don't
yeah.
know how are you going to tie all of this in. So keep going.
All right. So I was thinking, all right, if I'll say this, if this happens again, and then there's like maybe a couple of guys that are not too fond of Harbaugh's decision, but don't that maybe will speak up on it, or maybe it could be Rokon, because you did say Rokon and Kyle Hamilton left before the media got a chance to even talk to him, which I think that's kind of odd, and
Mhm.
I don't know. It could be a situation where if this type of thing happens again against the Broncos, when ironically back then when we got destroyed by the Broncos in the 2012 season, I ain't trying to like saying that history will repeat
Uh,
itself. We'll just
yeah.
we'll go on that run again, but who knows? But do you think there's a chance if Marcus Williams gets benched again, he'll start speaking out more frequently? I know he probably won't, but he'll probably say something like
Cryptic.
in between
Hmm.
cryptic yet again, and then
I
it'll
really
be just
don't
this
know.
crazy ordeal where everybody's wondering, like, there'll be reports like, what's going on with the Ravens? Why is Marcus Williams getting benched? What is going on here? Or is there a
Yeah.
turmoil inside the team?
I
They were just
I
on riding high, something like that.
I feel here's the thing. I think that Zach Orr wanted to, because I've said it to Bobby and over here, is I feel like Zach Orr wanted to bring the 2014 defense that scheme wise was perfect. It's just we didn't have the corners for it. Now that
Yeah,
we have the personnel, he tried, but I feel like somewhere along the lines, the terminology from 2014 is not the same as the guys know today. So
no.
you got to adjust it to the. So it was like, okay, then why not use the same terminology as Mike did?
Mm-hmm.
Just telling them, hey, okay, same terminology, but it's different place now, you know.
Right,
And I
right.
think that
I
that
would
should
say.
have helped. But I think not only to your question about Marcus Williams, but I'm going to ask you also, Bobby. I don't know if you're going to freeze again or not. Um, I want to ask you if in the Broncos game, let's say Marcus plays, but he doesn't play up to the standard, plays
Mm-hmm.
as usual. Do you see us literally benching him again with Eddie Jackson and giving Kano and Bo their chance to actually prove themselves? Or do you see a last minute, I don't know, trade? Well, no, not trade, but more so like, you know what? Goodbye, Eddie Jackson, and we're gonna give
Just to
either
release him.
Bo or I don't know what you see because I feel like we need to see them two rookies on the field.
It
Well,
needs to happen.
it wouldn't surprise me if Marcus is well. Some people think that this could be related to the trade deadline. Who wants Marcus right now, and who wants that
Nobody.
contract? So
Nobody.
I don't see the correlation there, and it also wouldn't surprise me if both guys aren't featured next week. Now, then
Mm-mm.
again, you'd be leaning heavily on an undrafted rookie and a seventh rounder in Bo Braid and Sanusi Kane. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe just maybe they bring Marcus back, sit Eddie down. I mean, look, Eddie's performance was benching worthy. Now, credit to him. Credit to him.
1,000%.
Oh, that was the
Credit to him.
worst safety
He got
performance.
up. He got up post game. Right. He faced the music, and Marlon and Kyle left, which is very uncharacteristic of those guys. They left
Yeah,
before the
bro.
media could get to them.
Rogue one
Yeah,
because
Rowan
Marlon
was
didn't
Kyle.
play.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
Rowan
know what?
Kyle.
I'm
Yeah.
multitasking right now because I just
Yeah,
saw
it's all
Marlon.
right, Bob. It's all right. He
I
got
just
you.
saw
He got you.
Here. Listen to this. I just saw Marlon. This is why I'm multitasking right now. I just saw Marlon. Marlon is on my mind for whatever reason. No, I just saw Lamar tweet at Sarah. So let's go check this out and we'll react to
Oh,
it in real time. Let's see what happens here. Okay. So Sarah put up a screenshot of what Jeremiah Owusu Koromoa got away with,
uh,
which of course was the would-be
Tripping.
tripping call that
yeah.
was never called. Now Gene
Ref
Steratore
ball.
he clarified, CBS rules analyst, that
Mm-hmm.
it should have indeed been a tripping call.
Yeah.
Well, here comes Lamar post game. Lamar post game tweets at Sarah and says, "Not even. Mother effort kicked me in the elbow, LOL. But the white cap, meaning the official, said they can do that. Wowzers."
Okay, now that's a
Whoa.
direct shot to the refs. But other thing
He'll
is
take the
that
fine.
if you remember that Dallas game, when he said to the camera, "Stop cheating us, bro." It's
Oh
like
yeah.
there's been some calls, not exactly towards Lamar that they haven't count, but more so in general.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like they've been holding the defense, or they've been pushing the corners, or for example, before the last play, they pushed Say Flowers, or I don't know if that was a push or if it was a hold that he didn't reach it before the last play, because that last play, yeah, he tripped. But on the second to last one, it seemed more so like the defense was having his way with Flowers, and the refs
Mm-hmm.
didn't call it, and it was obvious. So is Lamar saying to the NFL referees, "Hey, you're not calling on our favor; you're calling always against us"?
I think he's more so just post game letting out some frustrations here.
Frustration.
And let's just make sure in the live chat, did I properly decipher Lamar's tweet? He said, not even MF, which is mother effer, kicked me in the elbow, LOL. But Whitecap said they can do that. And then like a miffed emoji, wowzers. That's, to me, I read that as like, it's ridiculous that this went uncalled. It's ridiculous. And by the way, prayers up for Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah.
Oh, yeah,
Oh yeah, that elbow to the head.
I saw it.
Yeah, obviously that had nothing to do with that specific play.
Yeah.
That was when King Henry, he just got King Henry'd. Let's be clear. He got King Henry'd. He got bulldozed. And that's the price that you pay when you want to bang around with the king. So the way I read that is just a post-game frustration tweet in the form of his lingo and that. And then as Gene Steratore said, it should have been called. And man, Sarah and I spoke about it in our post-game live stream. What's up with this whole replay assist feature that came in at one point and ruled David Njoku's catch, which was ruled a catch on the field, the toe tap, incomplete? Why not use the replay assist more to increase efficiency, to increase quality, to increase accuracy of these officials are being asked to do a whole lot, particularly when it comes to this new hip drop regulation, which is happening in real time. There are car crashes that are happening in instances in an instant, and I feel like there's other ways that you could incorporate that in to make for a cleaner game.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with that too.
Let's see if Sarah's figured this out yet. I'm going to tweet her, or I'm going to text her. Are you aware? I don't think she has her notifications on.
Hey, more on your plate. But we're here to help. We're here to help.
Anytime we can help. And another problem we have is Tucker too. I don't know if you guys.
Oh, I 100% agree. Is like, I think we need to draft another kicker. It's not that I don't disrespect. I don't disrespect.
We all love Tucker.
We love him. I mean, he has that record. But let's face it. Age is catching up. And he's starting to be a little bit inconsistent, and we don't have a kicker. Let's just say, I pray that this doesn't happen, but that he gets injured on a kick, extra point or field goal, those types of plays that they just want to block it, and those blocks, it tends to go towards the leg, and so let's pray that doesn't happen. But hey, we don't have a kicker, and we don't know if Stout can actually kick as accurate as Tucker. So we need a replacement for him. Like, no shots to him. It's just looking at the future.
You guys both want replacements now. You've seen enough.
I'm not saying it now. I'm just saying like it's just becoming a recurring issue with him.
It's an issue. It's an issue, all right. But he looked pretty darn good in Tampa.
Yeah, he did. He did.
No,
it's just
I'm not saying no. It's just
like
getting ready. Same thing that happened to us when Ray left. We never had a replacement for him, so we had to draft one on 2014. Who was it? It wasn't Orr. It was the other linebacker that actually got drafted.
So you're telling me you just want somebody waiting in the wings is what you're getting at.
Yes. Well, to learn from Tucker, while he may have that inconsistency still, but at least he's learning the techniques. He knows the language, the signals. So it's like, hey, if Tucker's not up to it anymore, there you have it. It's like smooth transition.
I got you. I
Yeah.
got you. I'm
I just don't
hoping
see
he
the
can.
same power from
I'm
him.
hoping he can find something in season here. It's been for his
There it is.
standards.
CJ Mosley.
Yeah,
Mosley
Oh,
was.
CJ.
duh. There you
And I
go.
still got his jersey, ironically. I
All
still
right,
got that man's
fellas.
jersey.
I
All
appreciate you
right.
guys very much for taking care of business for me tonight. This may have been the longest guest hit I've ever gotten from you guys. I appreciate you guys for jumping in.
Ironically, we the ones to do that, Bobby.
Appreciate you both. All right.
Anytime,
Hey,
Bobby.
anytime with anything we can help.
All
Give us
right,
a call.
fellas.
Don't tell Sarah though.
Yeah.
I'll talk to
All
you
right,
guys soon.
guys.
I appreciate you
See ya.
both.
All
Yep,
right.
absolutely. Julian Emmanuel being huge co-host for me tonight in a couple binds. Tinze says the Ravens will not win a single thing as long as the head coach and philosophy remain. Is Bisciotti afraid to show ambition because failure to win will hurt his ego? Look, there's a lot of those types of statements that are made on days like today, emotions running high. To me, this was, while blame needs to be divvied up across the board, and I tweeted it out post game, and there's been a lot of blowback since. I am not putting this game on the coaches. I am not putting this game on Zach Orr. Does that mean that he is completely free and he's absolved of all blame? No, it hasn't been good enough. We know that. He lacks, I think, a certain type of feel in certain situations, whether it be with blitz packages or different personnel groupings or just the inexperience that comes with being a 32-year-old first-time defensive play caller. Today, I walk away with a sheer confidence that today was about one thing, and really not one thing only, but one thing more so than anything else, and that was missed opportunities. Okay, and I mentioned them off the top of the show. There's a slew of them that would have helped change. Even just a couple of these going the other way would have helped change the ultimate outcome of tonight's game. 3 third down drops, 4 would-be potential picks that were dropped, 2 for 10 on third down, a miss from Justin Tucker, and that's just to name a few. Those are the areas right there why the Ravens, from a self-inflicted standpoint, lost this game. And so we can point the finger as much as we want if it's comforting at coaches, at the hierarchy, at the owner, at the front office. But to me, today was about the players. And I often go in that direction because the players play. The players win you games. Okay. Coaches, from a coaching standpoint, what coaches do is they help you win games. They put you in a position to win games. They manage games, right? They strategize around games, but the players win the football games. Players play. Players execute. Or in this case today, players don't execute. And to me, that's the biggest takeaway from today. I see a lot of you want it blamed fully and wholeheartedly and solely on Zach Orr. I just don't agree with that sentiment. I'm talking about today. If you want to talk about a collective approach to this season as to why they have 3 losses, as to why they've almost coughed up some leads, we can have that conversation about Zach Orr. And of course, that's one that I'm willing to have. But today, in my estimation, is not solely on Zach Orr. Today was a lack of execution. Today was about missed opportunities time and time again. Today was about not being a good receiver of gifts. Jameis Winston was Santa Claus out there today, and nobody wanted to receive his gifts. Nobody let him down the chimney. It's too early for Christmas. It's way too early for Christmas references. I want to live in a world where we can put fandom aside. We can put preferences and overall enjoyment levels of certain players and certain guys aside, and we can hold players accountable. I don't want to live in a world where we automatically, because of the endearment level, for the way in which fans can look at players, I don't want that to take away from reality or accountability being divvied up. I don't want that to have to immediately result in we're pointing the finger at a coach. We're pointing the finger at the GM. We're pointing the finger at the owner. Why is that? We can hold them accountable when the time is right. But today was about the players. Looks like the guest lines are still getting hot. And Hot Dad wants to pop on. So come on. Guest link access has just been dropped into live chat. Would love to get a thought or two from you guys. Still over 1,000 of you concurrently driving, currently hanging out with me tonight. Sunday Night Football is underway. San Francisco down early in the second to Dallas, 7-3. 49ers are 3-4. Dallas 3-3. And that end of the 425 games was absurd. Jaden Daniels with a Hail Mary walking off the Chicago Bears. How about the Washington Commanders, boy? What a fun time to be in Commanders land. One of the most ridiculous finishes you will ever see. If you guys want to call in tonight, I'm only going to be on here for a couple more minutes. The guest line is open. The waiting room is actually, for once tonight, quiet until Gene popped in. And now we're back. What's up, brother?
Hey, I think you're right on the player side. I think we were failed by Eddie Jackson particularly, but in Zach Orr, we gave Mike McDonald a lot of passes, but Zach Orr is part of Mike McDaniels. What's his name?
Mike McDonald.
Mike McDonald. Right. We gave Mike McDonald a lot of passes, but Zach Orr was part of that defense. So in learning what worked and didn't, Zach Orr should have learned what worked and didn't. And we've given a lot of passes. I know the players missed opportunities, especially Eddie Jackson dropping 5 picks. But you got to learn the strength of your players. And when you don't see, I know John Harbaugh had Marcus Williams in the doghouse, but you got to be able to call up plays. Particularly, I think we didn't blitz enough. We were getting no pressure at all. I don't know if that's just the way the cards fell. If we wanted to be more confident in Jameis Winston making mistakes, which he did, and we didn't take advantage of, but we just didn't get enough pressure. I think actually Madubuike has been failing us the most. I mean, you pay a guy what? I think he's getting paid $20 million a year, 22, something like that. I mean, you get paid the money that we paid Madubuike is the money that could have gone to Gino or to Queen, and he's just not. I don't think he's worth the money, to be honest. Right now, I think he has 2 sacks and 3 tackles throughout the season.
Take a look at this. This to me is the biggest telltale sign of what's needed between now and November 5th when the trade deadline is set. Opposing QBs are getting an average of 3.96 seconds to throw on 3rd and long against the Ravens this season. That's the worst mark for any team in the past decade, according to True Media, and almost a half second slower than the runner-up at 3.52 seconds, okay? They got the Jameis a couple times, just 2 total sacks. Sacks came from, Kyle Hamilton, Tavius Robinson, and Yannick Ngakoue each had a half sack. I thought Yannick was credited for a full one, but apparently not, according to ESPN.com. They were penalized 7 times, which negated 53 yards. And Cleveland was 8 for 15 on 3rd down. Yeah, something's got to change. It's ugly.
Yeah, I think we need to blitz more. I don't know if it's. I saw a lot of just 4 men, just regular, straight up, just sending 4 players, and they didn't. They were just straight up not winning against the worst O line. And they were last in 3 different categories of pass protection, time. It's just what I mean. I don't know if they hated Watson back there, right? I can't blame them, but I mean Madubuike needs to, in my opinion, he needs to win. I mean, you pay a guy like that. or Owe needs to win. You know,
Oh, yeah.
he
Oh, yeah.
should set up the other players to make plays. If he is, getting double teamed, then Owe should come off or Yannick should come. I mean, it's just not enough from our players and coaches. It's just equally both as bad. I think Zach Orr just doesn't know how to scheme these players like Mike did, where Mike would, create simulated pressure and get Clowney a bunch of sacks and get Kyle Van Noy is kind of our Clowney now, but it's just not as efficient. Like he's just an older player, so
Appreciate the call, brother. Thanks for the call.
yeah.
Catch up with you soon. Guest lines are open if you guys would like to call in and share a thought with me. We're talking about, of course, the Ravens loss in Cleveland today. Massey drops in a super chat donation. Appreciate you, Massey. Massey. A-Ride. Andy Reid. Andy Reid and the Chiefs get field goals, especially early in games. The underrated aspect of the Chiefs. Most games decided one score. No need to go for fourth down early in game, especially versus a low-scoring team. Greedy. Oh, referring to Todd Monken's call there, right? Yeah. And then going away from Lamar was tricky too, right? Anytime you're in a do or die situation, you go away from Lamar, you take the ball out of Lamar's hands, that's going to be tough. Now, it's always hindsight's 2020. And I love the idea to go for it on fourth, to be honest with you. Just didn't like the design of it, right? The design, just it's tough. It's tough when you take the ball out of MV3's hands and when you get a little cute on short yardage situations, particularly 3rd and 1, or in this case, the 4th and 1, right? The Derrick Henry Wildcat play call is very easy to criticize and get after in the hours that follow because it didn't end up working out. But anytime you take it out of Lamar's hands, it's just immediately, for me, it's kind of like I lose interest, right? You always want it in his hands, regardless of whether or not he's going to be directly involved in the play or not. Let it begin with MV3. Thanks for the super chat. Guest lines are open, and Michael wants to get a word in here. I imagine you got a lot to say tonight. Welcome in, bro.
Hey, what's going on? You definitely know what I do. I keep it, kind of short this week though, because tonight we were on borrowed time, if you ask me, because we always are good for a one big stinker pretty much every season, as we know. And I got scared as soon as we already knew Marlon was going to be out, but then as soon as I heard that Wiggins was going to be out, I was like, okay. All right, so we may have a problem. So then when the game starts, we start losing defensive linemen. I'm like, okay, we have a real big problem now. And we were already weak at defense as it is. My thought process, because I know everybody knows the sky is falling right now. So everybody wants to point fingers and stuff like Spider-Man meme right now. But the biggest thing is that I'm scared that there's no fix for the defense right now at this season. I think that the problem is that the offense is going to have times they can rely on the defense, and this was one of those games. Yeah, they dropped passes and everything, but at the end of the day, Lamar still put him in position to win that game at the end there, and he almost still pulled it out. So, if we got to face these tougher teams like the Chiefs again and things like that, with the last person you want with the ball in their hands is Mahomes, no matter how bad he's playing, and it's not a recipe for winning.
I think you're onto something here. First and foremost, with the way in which perhaps this has been covered up, these deficiencies have been covered up by how explosive this offense has been week in and week out, and it was maybe only a matter of time that the defense would be put in a situation where it's time to put up or shut up. We need you to win a football game, and they weren't able to today. That was one of those games. It was a pedestrian-like offensive performance, which you'll get from time to time in division, right? Jim Schwartz had a plan. He executed that plan to a T, and obviously along the way, the Ravens got a lot of gifts that they didn't end up cashing in on. So that makes Jim look a little bit better than maybe he really was today. But the point is, you got to give your flowers. You got to tip your cap, at least to a certain extent. And, the wear and tear on Lamar, they had him running at times. A lot of pressures there were generated by Myles Garrett, as he tends to do week in and week out, as, pretty much every single year, a perennial favorite for Defensive Player of the Year. But I'm with you. Right now, this is a defensive group that lacks an identity, that has a lot of more question marks than it does answers. And unless somebody like a Roquan Smith 2 years ago comes in prior to the deadline and changes around the pass rush, and that starts to leak and become contagious down all three levels, they're going to be put in a situation where this will be magnified again, and it's probably going to rear its ugly head. That's sort of the hard truth about it. So I'm with you, Michael.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say is that that I think somebody else said it in the chat before earlier as it was that that we can't rely on Lamar. Lamar is a generational talent here, and it just so happens that we managed to put together probably the worst defense I believe since 2000. If I ever had to say so, I'm it's starting to look that way. I'm hoping I'm wrong, but it doesn't look like there's a fix because it's just too many glaring problems. Whether it's Zach Orr's inability to put this thing together, or some of these players are just falling off. One thing or another, or a multitude of things. It's a perfect storm.
I always like to keep it into perspective, though. If Kyle had reeled in that gimme interception, we would have definitely spoken about this tonight, but it would have been a whole lot different. It would have been, you know what? Let's take this W and we'll address it when we have to. And it was a literal juggle away, a bobble away, a play that he'll make 99 times out of 100, will Kyle Hamilton. And it was that play away from having a completely different conversation tonight. And it would have been about, look at what Lamar, he was imperfect tonight, but when it mattered, he put the team in a position to win that football game, put up points, go ahead, and Kyle closed the door. And instead, we all watched what unfolded. And so, look, they're far from championship caliber right now. A lot of teams are through 8 weeks. And one thing that they can do right now to sort of address what your concern is in terms of whether or not they have the dogs to fix it is to bring in one between now and the 5th and hope that type of investment and understanding that you're in this sense of urgency right now, you're in a window right now of Lamar's opportunity, that maybe you're going to push all your chips to the middle of the table and be willing to give up a little bit more draft compensation maybe than you would be in the past, maybe a little bit more of the base salary and the money side, kicking the can down the road if you have to via void years than you would in the past, knowing that this is a certain moment in time that you have to take advantage of. Michael, I appreciate the call, brother.
Hey, thank you. Have a good one.
You too, dude. Josh Hoffman, thanks for the super chat donation. You're always getting after it in the live chat. Love it. Josh says that Wildcat, referring to the 4th and 1 on the opening drive. Fix everything else, and our play calling will still be too cute by half. It's not hindsight. I was horrified pre-snap. Look, there were a lot of pre-snap concerns, no doubt. And the play call itself, again, is one that I'm sure Todd Monken would want back. I'm with you. Over 1,100 of you joining me here concurrently tonight. I'm sure a lot of you are watching Sunday Night Football as well, maybe doing a dual screen type of thing. I appreciate you guys for being here. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when I'm dropping my daily live content. We've got a lot to discuss this week as a result from this one. And we will start to do exactly that coming up tomorrow. I appreciate you guys for being with me tonight. I've gone an hour and 10 minutes on top of the hour and a half that Sarah and I did earlier, on top of the pregame show that I did earlier today. And for that, after a busy weekend too in nature, I am just about spent. If you guys want to donate to the channel and you don't want to do so through Patreon, joining the Bobby Baltimore community, you can do so through Venmo or Cash App. You can also like the video, which is free, subscribe, which is also free. Hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when I'm dropping my daily content. That's also free. And I would love for you to check out Preston Automotive Group. Hint, hint. It really helps me out, which is also free. If you would just click on the link, simply click on the link that I have as a pinned comment. That will go down as a page visit. Maybe you find something you like at Preston, maybe you don't. But if nothing else, it certainly helps me out with my back-end business items that make this channel go. So I appreciate you guys for spending part of your game day with me. Hopefully we can all turn a page, flush it after 24 hours, as they say, and get ready for the Denver Broncos coming up on Sunday in Baltimore. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff at the bank. So for my entire crew, and shout out Julian and shout out Manuel, two of my most loyal subscribers, who, when I had a frozen screen situation followed by a reboot that's on the flip side of my computer that I have no control of, they took over the show and admirably co-hosted. So shout out to you guys. I got the best subscribers in the world. You guys are the best. I appreciate you as always, and I'll catch up with you on Monday, if not before. You never know. If Lamar continues to go on these heaters, these post-game Twitter heaters, I might come back on and talk about it. But until then, thanks to Preston Automotive Group for sponsoring tonight's episode and my entire channel. And thanks to all of you, all 1,100 plus of you who joined me concurrently. Ravens are 5-3, looking ahead now to Denver in week 9, and we'll see what the Pittsburgh Steelers do tomorrow night against the Giants to see where the AFC North shakes out after 8 weeks. Later, guys. Appreciate the love.